Hello, I'm Gabriel, the founder of Tutti. So I have talked a lot on various WhatsApp groups and with a lot of different founders about our data tech stack because it's quite comprehensive and it's very powerful and very useful. And I've seen a lot of advisors and various people talk about data tech stacks recently. But one of the tricky things with these things is that no one really shares how to set one up or how theirs are set up. And while I don't know that this is how you should set them up, this is how we've set it up and it works really well for us right now. So I just wanted to kind of demystify some of the setups of a data tech stack and explain why we've done it the way we have, how we've done it, what it allows us to do, and share any other information that might be useful. To start with, we use Segment. It is a fantastic, it's not a startup at this point, scale up. Came out of YC a number of years ago, and it basically allows you to standardize the integrations into any analytics platform. So using Segment, you write certain calls within all your code to trigger when certain events happen. Those go into Segment, and then within Segment, you can choose which of those different calls go to which destinations. As you can see on the left, we have sources. That's where the code is written in. And you can see we have multiple JavaScript and Node sources. That is because, one, we have two websites. We have a software and a marketplace. That's why we have so many JavaScript side things. And obviously we have test, production, and various things like that. And then we also have the back end, again, test, dev, production. Dev is local to the developers. Test is our live test site, and then production, which is our live site. But then you can also pull information from Stripe and from your CRM, from your ads accounts, and yeah, in our case, Twilio. Then you can send all of that data to all sorts of different destinations. In this case, we use Facebook Pixel to track it, to track events for Facebook ads. There are two different types of destinations. There's the events-based, which is user signed up and someone paid for a booking, and then there's the client side, which is client side, which is page views, basically. Like, someone looked at this blog. Great, cool. So because of how certain different things work, they need different types of integrations. And that's why we have two Facebook ones, but they're sending to the same place. They just understand them slightly differently. And then we also have two different types of Google Analytics 4. You can see we have 7 destinations and 4 destinations, again, separated into events and just kind of web tracking. The reason we have 7 is because setting up Google Analytics 4, I wanted to try different methods, and we've just been playing with lots of things. There's one core one, and then there's a bunch of test ones. We send conversions to Google Ads so that when a user clicks on an ad, we can see whether they went through the journey, if they came from Google Ads, whether they converted. I think that's the same thing. Oh, this is from our server. This is from our front end. Hotjar, which is a heat mapping solution. HubSpot, our CRM. Intercom used to be our CRM. And then Mixpanel, which is massive. So Mixpanel is basically our analytics dashboard. I will show you a tiny bit of that in a bit. It allows us to visualize so many of our metrics and events on Tutti. Slack is great. I have 2 Slack channels for Tutti. I have the team one, and then we actually have an investor one as well. And the investor one has one little link in from Slack, which is every single time a location gets published on Tutti, the investor Slack gets a notification, which is quite cool. So our investors can see all these amazing locations. Like, we've listed churches and home and castles and amazing homes recently, and every single time, the moment it's live, our investors can see that in our Slack. On the other side, Team Slack, there's a lot more information going in there. Then we have a referral system, and then we have a data warehouse on AWS, and then the others are no longer being used. So yeah, that is how we write a standardized system of code. It's always like all of the systems, all of the languages, all using the same style as suggested by Segment. And that's how we enter events into our code. And it comes out within our code. We can tell it what integrations we want to send it to. We can, for some events, you're suggested not to send all of those events to certain destinations. Like, for example, our Voucherify, which is our referral system, we get charged on API calls with them, and sometimes if we accidentally turn on page views, we send them tens of thousands of page views in a month, and they're like, hey, you're doing something wrong. We're going to charge you more. So we turn that off. We only send them really important events. And another thing about Segment, every single one of these destinations, they receive information differently. Because Segment acts as a middle hub, it is able to understand how we've set up events in our code, and it's able to translate that into the way that our destinations need to receive them. So we don't have to learn the APIs and how to write code for Facebook Pixel and Google Ads and GA4 and Hotjar and HubSpot and Mixpanel. Segment takes care of that, which is amazing. Much very nice alleviation of duties from the developers. So to dive into this a bit more and give you more of an insight than I think most people share, just wanted to be helpful. Here's our server. So this is our server. You can see the destinations it's sending to. There's a debugger, which I will try going to. Okay. This is showing every single live event as it's happening, or not every single one. It's like a random collection of them, basically. But it allows us to see all sorts of information, and you can see how that a single event is happening within like our code as well, which is great. And then there's the schema. The schema is a system that is basically, you don't have to set this up. Every single time an event fires in your code, it comes into Segment, and then Segment fills out the schema as it sees fit. So every single one of these, we have 77 events that come from the server side, and a lot of them, some of them are old and not being used anymore, and I'm sure there's a lot that we don't do that we should do. But let's take search attributes. So every single time someone searches on Tutti, a search attribute event is triggered. And within every single event, you're able to define so much information, just enormous amounts, that you can then pull out in the data warehouse as well as in Mixpanel and various other places to dive into the details of the information. For our event search attributes, there's some really key information that we look through. There's obviously the basic stuff like what browser they're on, device type, etc. But then also we have created our own page type. Was this search done on the search page or a different page where embedded search is? What page URL? Who referred them? And then results shown and results total. So how many results for that specific search shows up on the page, and then how many could there have been if pagination didn't exist. And yeah, that is search attributes. We have a lot of others. They trigger at various amounts of times. But yeah, that is a rough intro to that. There's this is the schema. So there's track events, which is an event like search attribute. Search attributes is a badly named one. I think I named that. It's supposed to be like search triggered, but most of them work. User created, message sent, booking request accepted. All of that is fitting segment standards, which is what happened is like noun verb or something like that, basically. But a track event is an event took place. An identify event is every single time someone has signed in with their email, segment fires an identify so that we're able to recognize that that's a user. And then there's group, which we actually don't use. And yeah, they go to destinations. There's enormous amounts of settings that you can put together in destinations. And in the more complex destinations, which are event-based, like I mentioned earlier, the Facebook event conversion API, that is incredibly intricate. I can go in and I can decide, okay, here are all of the Facebook standard like properties that it expects to receive. What information within our event matches what property that Facebook expects? And yeah, I've had a lot of fun setting those up recently. Anyways, so that is Segment. Segment has a startup program, which I will link wherever I post this, which is free for 2 years for founders. And at the same time, it also gives, I think it's something ridiculous, like $500,000 worth of discount codes at various different places, including Mixpanel, Stripe, I think AWS, Mongo, just anything, HubSpot, anything that you might use in a startup and you need credits for. They have discounts. It's very useful. I've been on that program. Now we're paying for Segment, but I started with that, and it's a very useful program. So, you have seen that we are tracking search attributes. So where does that go? How do we visualize that? That's where Mixpanel comes in. So here is a look at a dashboard that we have on Mixpanel. Clearly this is an example, but this is actual data. It's just an example of actual data. We have one thing, which is our monthly active users by user type, so we can see if there's more hosts signing in or more artists, or if we don't know their user type, or hybrid, which is artists and hosts. And we only turned this on like earlier this year, so yeah, this bump isn't just because our traffic has increased that much, it's because of turning on, making sure it's working properly. This is correct. This is spaces listed cumulatively over time. You can see this is since April 2021. And even if you don't visualize something from the day that you set it up, you can visualize the entire history of however long you've been sending information to Mixpanel from Segment. So I think we set this up in like March 2023, but the data goes all the way back to April 2021, which is great. And let's create a new insight report into the search attributes. So this is search attributes in the last 7 days, the number of people who have done searches on Tutti in the last 7 days, or the number of searches that have happened on Tutti. And per day, line chart, you can compare it if you want, and so here's the search attributes. You can then filter by a bunch of properties if you want, which is great. So you can only see search attributes that have, let's say, more than 5 results. Actually, let's do that. Results total greater than 5. You wait a tiny bit, There we go. Didn't change much because most of our search results have more than 5, or searches have more than 5 results. But yeah, let's say more than 50. Will that change much? Okay, it's gone down a bit. Cool. There we go. And then you can also do like all sorts of things. So if you have 2 attributes, for example, you have the, like, for our example, we have multiple types of listings. So we have spaces and locations, but sometimes I just want to see data on all of our listings, regardless of whether they're spaces or locations. So if you have 2 events, in this example, it would be maybe location searched. I can do, you know what, I'll just do it with data from yesterday. Location impression without that filter because that's not correct, and space impression in yesterday. So great, cool, pretty decent amount of data. But how much is it together? You simply put into formula A plus B, because A and B, and there we go. There's all of your impressions from both of those listings yesterday. It's that simple. And then if we go back to search attributes, and you can also break down and see loads of different lines by results total, like results shown. So if we want to do results total, here are the number of results per line. 0 to 50 is the most, followed by more than 450 is second most. And we have a tracking system that I won't show you that is how many search results end up with 0, and it's very few, which is good. So people are just being really filtered and finding the couple that match them. 50 to 100, great, cool. And then if you want to, you can filter that down. You can customize buckets to size every 10. There we go. 20 to 30 is the second most. 130 to 140 is very high up there. Great. And then 0 to 10 has dropped significantly. So yeah, there's so much power that you can do with just Mixpanel. And that's just one of our destinations. We also send information to GA4. And we also send information to Hotjar, which I can also show you a quick example of. Hotjar, I use the destinations that I send things to for very different things. I use Mixpanel to really dive into the details of what events happened when, and like if the events happened in a way that I expect or in a way that I didn't expect, what information can I delve out of that. And I'm by no means like a data analyst or anything like that. I just self-taught this stuff, but I can already get various information that I'm able to act on, and my team is able to act on for product choices. And that's for Mixpanel, it's just in numbers. But then if you want to do visually, Hotjar is fantastic, also has a free plan. And this is a test that we are running right now that is very, very clear that we need to remove one of our fields on our homepage. So we have 2 fields on our homepage. Where do you need space and what do you need in your space? And we always thought that what do you need in your space is such a cool field because people can enter anything. Turns out that people want some sort of limitation, or I don't know exactly what the reason is, but that is not the field to have on the homepage. No one uses it. And we had this hypothesis last week, which was, or a couple of weeks ago. Maybe originally it was where do you need space on the left and what you need on your space on the right. And we were like, okay, maybe they're just clicking on where do you need space because it's on the left. It's the first one you come to. So we set up this test. We switched the fields around and we said, okay, running it again, let's see which ones people click on. And our hypothesis has been clearly proven to be incorrect because everyone still clicks on where do you need space. It is the most clicked element on this page. And that's Hotjar has a number of different things that it does. It does heat maps, it does recordings, it helps you with surveys and a couple other things. And heat maps is one of the things that we use regularly to test hypotheses on different pages. And we've also implemented features or workflows based on recordings that we have watched. So there's that. The most other clicked thing is just going straight to search. Cool, great. We're going to remove this from the page. And actually, we're getting a brand new homepage very soon. So yeah, I hope that is a bit of a interesting little deep dive into how we are building Tutti, or just how we're looking at the data of Tutti and how a startup can look at the data. We are a tiny team. I'm the only full-time non-engineer, and we have 3 full-time engineers and a bunch of part-time people. Me and a couple other team members look at this data regularly, and even though we are this tiny team, we are able to make data-driven decisions all the time, which is incredibly useful and means that we're building a very good product that people seem to like. If you have any questions on how to set this up, you can message me. I can't promise I'll be quick at responding because I've got a lot going on, but I thought you would like to see this. So yeah, thank you for your time, and maybe I'll do another of these if this was helpful. Let me know. Thanks.